In 1890, the United States made a decision that would echo through every coin, every bank, and every paycheck that followed. It began buying silver. Not a little, but mountains of it. This was not charity or curiosity. It was desperation wrapped in politics, driven by fear of deflation and hunger for votes. Yet few today know why the government intervened in the metal markets, or what it truly cost the American people. The story begins after the Civil War, when America was rebuilding and broke. Gold was the standard of power, but silver was the metal of the people. Farmers, miners, and frontier merchants depended on it for daily trade. When Congress quietly dropped silver from the currency in 1873, the crime of 73 they called it, the money supply shrank, prices fell, and ordinary Americans were crushed under deflation's weight. To the working class, silver meant hope, a fairer, more abundant money supply. To the bankers and industrialists, gold meant control, stability, and international respect. America stood divided, East versus West, Wall Street versus Main Street. Silver miners in Nevada struck riches, while politicians debated whether silver would save or sink the nation's economy. By 1890, pressure boiled over. The silver lobby and farmers' alliances demanded change. To calm unrest, Congress passed the Sherman Silver Purchase Act, forcing the Treasury to buy 4.5 million ounces of silver every month. It was a compromise meant to please everyone, but in truth it satisfied no one. The government printed new paper money to pay for the silver, money not backed fully by gold. At first the law seemed to work. Silver mines thrived, farmers cheered, the money supply expanded, the economy felt alive again, as if silver had rekindled the American dream. But prosperity built on politics, not productivity, rarely lasts. As silver prices fell worldwide, the US government found itself buying metal worth less and less, paying more and more in paper promises. By 1892, the illusion was wearing thin. Foreign investors began losing faith in the US dollar's strength. They saw silver piling up in vaults while gold quietly disappeared, shipped overseas as confidence drained away. The more silver Washington bought, the weaker the dollar became. America's currency, once respected across oceans, now trembled under the weight of its own experiment. As the Treasury's gold reserves dwindled, panic began to spread. Banks grew nervous, newspapers warned of collapse, and whispers of "redeem your dollars in gold" echoed through the streets. The balance between silver and gold, so delicately maintained, was breaking. The United States was staring into the face of a financial reckoning it had created itself. Then came the inevitable. In 1893, the stock market crashed. Railroads failed, factories closed, and the nation plunged into its worst depression to date. Unemployment soared, soup lines stretched across city blocks, and the paper dollars once meant to bring relief now symbolized betrayal. The silver experiment had turned toxic. Confidence, that fragile foundation of all economies, had shattered. Desperate to stop the bleeding, President Grover Cleveland called for the repeal of the Sherman Silver Purchase Act. Congress fought bitterly, but by late 1893, silver buying was over. The government halted its massive purchases, trying to restore faith in gold. Yet the damage was done. Fortunes vanished, savings evaporated, and trust in Washington's ability to manage money had been shaken to its core. The 1890s taught America a brutal truth. Even well-meaning economic fixes can ignite chaos if built on political fear. The silver purchase was born not from logic, but from compromise, a bridge between Wall Street and the West that collapsed under its own weight. Economies are not mechanical. They are emotional, built on trust and destroyed by its loss. The silver debate didn't die in 1893. It became a symbol. The question of what backs a nation's wealth, metal, paper, or belief, has haunted every generation since. In those years, free silver became a rallying cry, led by fiery voices like William Jennings Bryan, who thundered against the cross of gold. It wasn't just a monetary issue, it was a moral one. Bryan's crusade for silver defined the 1896 election, pitting him against William McKinley and the bankers' faith in gold. The country was torn, industrial elites versus struggling farmers, tradition versus reform. When McKinley triumphed, the gold standard seemed secure, but the debate had changed America forever. It forced a nation to question what its money really meant. By 1900, Congress officially anchored the US dollar to gold alone. Silver was left behind, a relic of populist dreams. America had chosen stability over experimentation, control over flexibility. The same nation that once bought millions of ounces of silver now watched it gather dust in forgotten vaults. The age of silver was over, but the story doesn't end with repeal or reform. The true cost of the silver purchase was deeper. Trust lost, livelihoods ruined, and the widening gap between the powerful and the poor. It was a moment when America tried to serve two masters, wealth and fairness, and discovered that money, like faith, cannot be divided without consequence. The echoes of 1890 reach far beyond the 19th century. Every time the government prints, spends, or intervenes in markets, the ghost of the Sherman Act lingers. It's a reminder that even good intentions can twist into calamity when fear drives policy. History doesn't repeat exactly. It rhymes in interest rates, inflation charts, and market panics. Today, debates over debt ceilings, inflation, and central banks are echoes of that same argument. What gives money its value? We print digital dollars now instead of minting silver, but the struggle between control and confidence remains. The story of 1890 isn't a relic, it's a reflection whispering from the past. Be careful what you promise. Silver, though abandoned as money, never disappeared. It became vital in industry, photography, electronics, medicine, shaping modern life in ways those 19th century lawmakers could never imagine. The same metal that once destabilized the nation now powers its technology. Perhaps that's history's quiet joke. The metal that broke the economy would one day help build it again. Economies don't rise or fall on silver or gold. They rise and fall on belief. When people trust the system, even paper can build empires. When they lose faith, even gold turns worthless. The 1890 silver purchase is less about metal and more about mindset. A study in how confidence once cracked reshapes the destiny of nations. Behind the charts and laws were people. Miners who lost everything when silver prices collapsed, bankers ruined by panic, and families forced to sell farms for pennies. Economic history is never just about numbers. It's about choices, and the people who must live with them. The Sherman Act wasn't simply a financial law. It was a human tragedy dressed in economic language, yet out of that pain came resilience. America learned, adapted, and built systems that would one day give rise to the Federal Reserve, modern banking, and the world's strongest currency. The silver crisis became a warning, not of failure, but of the price of progress. Every empire tests its limits. America did, and somehow it survived. When we look back on 1890, we don't just see economics. We see the anatomy of power. Money wasn't only metal, it was influence, control, and destiny. The government's silver purchases remind us that the strongest nations can be undone not by war, but by the invisible wars within, between fear and confidence, greed and grace. Perhaps history isn't about silver or gold, but about faith. Every coin ever minted carries an unspoken promise. In this, we trust. When that trust falters, no metal can save us. The story of 1890 is not just America's past, it's every generation's test. The next great experiment may not involve silver, but the cost will always be measured in belief.